All right, good evening and welcome to the Tuesday, August 27th meeting of the Select Board. It is 5:30 p.m. We will be moving into our first appointment this evening, which is the Board of Health. They are here to speak on their opioid settlement spending proposal. We have a Board of Health member, Roma Estevez, and Health Agent Maureen O'Reilly from the FERCOG, here to propose a regional opioid program funded by the opioid settlement money owned by the town. Good evening, ladies.
Thank you. Good evening. So I'll just kind of clarify for the record, I'm actually the health educator and epidemiologist. Wouldn't want that to be a recent amount of minutes, you know? And what I had understood from Heather earlier is that at the last town meeting that the select board had actually already approved the Board of Health to make some spending decisions with this money. Mm-hmm. So I think from that, I think we'll just shift the lens to say, like, let's update you on what we have going on.
Good.
Would you like to start? Would you like me to start? How would you like to do this?
Why don't I follow your lead since I knew we've been doing this and just done it today.
So we're gonna, if you don't have to move, but if you could just slide that microphone down,
Okay, sure.
or I can help, so that the people at home can hear what you've got to say.
Okay. Do you have slides in your packet?
Yes.
Okay. So we're gonna.
The slides are towards the back of the stapled together packet that I gave you.
A lot in here.
I know there is.
There's a lot in here,
Heather
and
goes on vacation, then she loads it when she gets back. So.
it's the back to school, right?
Yes.
That's kind of the vibe. So I'm going to. I know it's a tight agenda. We'll breeze through, and if there's any place, please stop and ask any questions that you have as we go along the way.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Go ahead, we'll listen.
yeah, I think I have mostly black and white. So, kind of big picture, the settlements work because the attorney generals across the country have negotiated with pharmacies and drug makers. And because of those settlements, $900 million is going to come to Massachusetts within the next 18 years. 60% of that money is going to be held and kept in state programs, and 40% of that $900 million is going to come directly to towns, including Buckland. There are specific terms of the agreement that the funds need to be spent in very specific buckets that we can talk about in a minute. And on the more select board side of things and town side of things, for a long time, spending the funds was actually really difficult. But now that they've made it easier on the statewide side of things, funds can be moved from a stabilization account into a special purpose revenue fund, which is fantastic because things can start to be spent this year. And we'll go to the next slide. This is just a little bit of an update on kind of what's been going on, big picture, and where support can come from. So I work for the Cooperative Public Health Service on behalf of the Buckland Board of Health. The FERCOG, my supervisor, Phoebe Walker, supports all 26 towns in Franklin County. So in that sense, we've kind of been a little bit more involved. We have a page that has opioid settlement updates, which includes kind of some of that detailed information about moving money through different kinds of funds. We've attended state municipal trainings to be able to support and boards of health and select boards. Really importantly, we co-hosted a listening session with all of the boards of health and health departments in Franklin County in February. This was actually one of the items on the settlement funds, is you have to listen to those in the community that have been impacted. So on behalf of you guys, check, we got a lot of input from folks in the community. I'll kind of skip through those last ones, and we'll keep on breezing through here. So, I'll also really kind of skip through this one too. This is more about the town expenditure process, basically by allowing the Board of Health to propose and spend these funds. It's actually streamlining some of the process of the terms of the agreement anyway, listening to folks, making sure we're getting the right kind of input, and that kind of a thing. So you see up here that there's categories where these settlement funds can be spent. this is through the terms of the settlement. It has to support people in these ways. And so a number of specifics through this also came up in this listening session with local people to say, hey, I actually really want my community to spend in a couple specific ways, and I'll get into that proposal in a second. So I do want to take a step back, because when we talk about where we're spending money, part of the question is how much, and that how much comes from how we got it in the first place. And this is it's kind of a national process where they were looking at opioid use disorder diagnoses, opioid deaths by county, and opioid shipments to county. Now again, with a national lens, a lot of other places have county government and countywide health departments. So when they were creating these formulas about how to allocate money to any kind of, any county USA, that made sense. But very specifically, it's actually kind of shafted a lot of Western Mass, including Buckland, which we'll get into in a second. On the third part of this slide, okay, if you click through a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, that's step 3. They created a formula using county information, and what they were looking for in terms of a local input is some census data. And in Franklin County, and particularly West County, they were looking at town budgets. I mean, they're doing this everywhere, but looking at the town budgets that fell into healthcare, public welfare, and education. In West County, I should say, throughout Franklin County and throughout Massachusetts, healthcare and public welfare is usually in a state budget item. It's not usually in a town or county line item. In Franklin County, and particularly West County, education is where there's kind of this baked-in inequity from this formula. And so what's happening is, of course, anyone middle school and up is going to a regional school. In elementary school, where there are elementary schools that are part of a regional group, and some towns have their own elementary school. So what's happened is that towns like Conway and Rowe that have their own elementary school are getting significantly more money than towns like Buckland, which are paying into a regional school district. The next slide kind of nails at home a little bit, but we can just skip through it. Just showing that Conway has 19 people in their town for education. Coleraine, which is in the school district, does not have any. We'll just move on. So this is where we look at the current settlement totals for the next 18 years, and this is where we see that kind of baked-in disparity that's coming from particularly that census line item. So Buckland's getting just under $12,000 in the next 18 years, and Conway, which has its own elementary school, is getting close to $135,000. And we're seeing this repeated throughout the county. I saw you react a little bit there. It's frustrating.
It is. My brother lives in Conway, so I'm going to have a good talk with him.
Oh, great.
Why do they use that as a determination for?
I don't have a really great answer to that. I think the main idea is when they were looking at it at that national level, saying what we're curious about is how these areas are already invested in community health and public health. And that's what they're looking at: healthcare, public welfare, and education. So that's kind of where that came from. So kind of to your point, Larry, we'll kind of skip through this next slide. This is just about these public health districts that are in Franklin County. There's a lot of communication between our health districts, and part of that in terms of like working together, listening session and everything. One of the things that's come up, like, how do we, within our districts, also work to share that wealth? Because there is no real reason that Conway should get a lot more money than Buckland, because we're not seeing that statistically, worked out in any place else. It's not that Conway is of greater need.
There's a lot of smaller towns that are just Buckland size that are not just Conway on this list.
Right, there's quite a few. Right.
There are, yeah.
And so this is kind of where the Board of Health proposal comes in. If we skip to the next slide. Looking at this, the district that Buckland's a part of, the Cooperative Public Health Service, is going to get just under $35,000 from settlement money every year. And we have kind of the grand total over 18 years down there at the bottom. On one hand, that's quite a bit to work with. On the other hand, not so much. So if we go to the next slide, throughout some of the process that the boards of health have been doing, including Buckland's Board of Health, is figuring out how we can share the money to impact everybody. Because if we have all these small towns paying into something, then we'll be able to actually have an impact for our community. And so this is through a number of different processes, but the oversight board that Buckland's well represented with Carmela comes all the time, voted to kind of split that $35,000 in this way. First was to provide some funding for the Recover Project, which would like to bring all recovery meetings to West County and North County. Right now, they only have them in person in Greenfield. So if you are farther away, you can't get to the meeting that's going to help you stay in recovery. And also kind of work to provide more peer support specialists and provide more outreaches and services as well. They're also talking about in our meeting in February, the listening session, they would love to fund folks to be boots on the ground, because people said with them when they were actively in the midst of their opiate use addiction disorder that they walked by the Recover Project all the time, but they had no idea what was in there. So if they could have somebody also to make connections on the ground, that would be fantastic. The second line item there is funding for pregnant moms. That amount there, the $5,068, funds at least one person to get support through their pregnancy and afterwards if they have opioid use disorder. And the last one, the Center for Human Development is looking for $5,000. They are already a well-funded organization that provides recovery coaches that are all throughout West County. But one of the things that they keep running into is say, hey, somebody really would like to move in a different way in their life, and they need a driver's license. But they don't have a job. So, but if you don't have the $26, or probably it's now like $35 to get a driver's license, you're not taking some of those steps and you can be a little bit stagnant. So they're kind of looking for some money for supporting those in recovery in some of these small ways to maybe get a suit for a job interview, get a driver's license, get a train ticket to do what they need to do if they need to go to Boston for a medical appointment or something like that. So that's kind of, breathing through this and putting it all together. Our last slide here is, hey, if all of our towns in our district give a little bit of their settlement, then we can make some big things happen. So that is the proposal for Buckland to provide 300, if you guys wanted to sign off on that, $382.49 each year. We're looking at kind of doing this for 2 years to just see how it goes. And those organizations would also report back. They obviously couldn't give confidential information, but say, hey, we supported Buckland in this way. So that's kind of what the proposal has been. I also just ran right through that. So if you have anything else that you would like to add or any questions, I'm open.
Well, I was just going to say I've saved you all the math. So the 382.49 is just a little bit more than half of the yearly budget, because if it's 11,890 over 18 years, it's about $660 per year. So we're really not talking about a lot of money.
Right.
We currently have $3,900 in our special, if you remember the last 3 town meetings, we have gone through a series of votes as the state sort of sorts out how the Department of Revenue wants us to track this money. First we got to have a special fund, and then they wanted us to have a stabilization fund, and now they want us to have the special revenue fund. And so we've kept up with that with our town meeting votes. So we are compliant with DOR to be able to participate in this, and we do have $3,900 that we've accrued thus far from the opiate settlement funds. So we clearly can afford the 382. And we've also, like I said, we've taken the appropriate town meeting votes that authorize the select board to make this commitment.
So does that mean there that, let's get back to Conway, because we're gonna pick, that they're gonna have to come up with 4,319 every year? We've only gotta come up with 380, so we're...
Correct. And we're also looking at this kind of on a trial basis. This is the first time that municipalities are getting involved in this way. So we're proposing trying this out for 2 years, seeing what we're hearing back. And if we want to continue in this way, then we can revamp these proposals and, kind of keep going. But that's exactly right, that Conway and Irving, the two folks in the district that are getting the most money, are the two select boards and boards of health that said, absolutely, we want to share this wealth, because they're like,
Is it a percentage base that's equitable for all towns, or is it different in each town? In other words, is our 382.49 what percentage of the 11,000, and what's Conway's? I mean, is it?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes, but I will also fully disclose that I wasn't at the meeting when they decided those percentages, so I'm not exactly
Up to where, but
yeah.
they do use a percentage type thing, so that's equitable for all towns. It should be. If we're
Yes,
doing, Okay.
yeah. As you can see, like Leiden and Monroe are not being asked to put in any money, but still receive benefit from these proposals as well. 1251, so.
So are you guys partnering with any other agencies like DART or any of them? I know DART's more kind of like Hampshire County, but are they starting to kind of feed up this way too? Because I know they're running recovery coaches, and so they've already got a lot of that established.
Yeah, so I think the idea is that if we go back to, back one slide, please, Heather, if that's possible.
You may have mentioned it, and I could have just
No,
missed it.
that's totally fine. So the Center for Human Development, this bottom one here, already has an established network of recovery coaches. So that is, I think, probably that equivalent for that
Right.
service. And then kind of like the, not the municipal center, but I'm trying to think of the one in Northampton that's in the old La Fiorentina building. That's kind of a drop-in recovery center.
Yeah,
So that's more like the Recover Project, but then having them expand access so you don't have to drive to Greenfield for everything. So, yeah.
Where do you think you'd have those kinds of meetings in West County?
I think that there is a possibility that's been floated for one of the doctor's offices in Buckland. There's also been floating the potential for a town hall space or the community center in Buckland Shelburne on the other side, Shelburne on this other side. And then I think there's also a number of church spaces that are also open, and no one's around, no one can see you pull in if it feels like it's something that has a lot of stigma to it. And I think we'd leave it over to the Recover Project to help decide where in the community people felt comfortable showing up to. So, yeah.
So is this kind of the only thing you guys are working on with this, or is there other programs that you're looking at, like a needle exchange program, or like I know the DA's office runs their drug take-back program. Is there anything on building off of any of that stuff?
So at present, Tapestry Health, or harm reduction in Greenfield, does needle exchange. And so in hearing with the people in February, a lot of them said that the mobile outreach that Tapestry does, even if it is kind of limited somewhat in geographic area, is still very accessible. So it wasn't really highlighted as a need to say like, needle exchange in West County is our number one thing.
Right.
So, yeah.
I'm just thinking more along the lines of that would kind of support not just opioid addictions either, but it'd be something for community, because you have people that, test their blood sugar and everything else, and a lot of them have hard times trying to find places to dispose of their needles
Right.
as well.
I had a dog who was diabetic, and I had to give him shots, and I ended up with a barrel. I mean,
totally.
rubbish barrel of and I took him back on Miles Street in Greenfield. I'm trying to think what the building was, but what it was, but it was a big needle exchange. I brought them in, and they had barrels of needles in there.
Wow.
So, yeah, so I don't know what it is, the building, but
I'm not sure either, but I will say that.
I know the town that I work for, they actually, the Board of Health there actually runs that program.
Okay.
With the police and fire department.
Oh, great.
So people actually bring their full containers in, we give them an empty one, and then the Board of Health ships them off.
So what the nursing program does is we do, they won't necessarily give you new needles, but they
No,
have
not
Sharps-
needles, just the containers.
Yeah, so the nurses have Sharps containers.
yeah.
And I believe that's on the flyer that's actually downstairs as you walk in. So, again, if there's other people that you know that need those services, feel free to connect them as well. So,
Good idea, because I don't see them on the streets, and it's kind of nice not seeing them
Yeah.
run around, so.
but I think with the absence of other questions, kind of piggyback into the next adjacent topic. So what else is happening? And so I think I'll kind of take a bird's eye view for a second. There's a lot of efforts that are happening, and we're in public health space. It is limited funding, and we're all trying to piece together stuff. So I'm sure you've heard of the opioid task force, and they've had a HEAL study. So they had federal funding to implement evidence-based strategies to reduce opioid overdose and hopefully opioid use within the community. And one of those was putting out naloxone cabinets. And you've probably seen the one, maybe on this side, it's on the front of the building in the foyer there. So we were able to use a different set of funding, so it's not the opioid abatement funding, but we're able to use public health excellence funding to purchase 30 of these guys, which are, thank you. Awesome. These are outdoor party precipitation-proof naloxone cabinets. I think we can just like open this one real quick. I had an open one in Coleraine, but they took it, so.
They're like that, yeah.
Yeah. So what these do is they can be mounted certain places, and inside, and of course I don't have this one prepped, but you can have naloxone sitting inside. This is actually a Velcro background, so you can just like stick them in there. And so another thing that the boards of health are doing, and we talked about in the last meeting, is where are locations throughout Buckland that we have 2 per town, that 2 of these could go. So do you want to report on what we had talked about for that?
Yeah, so we talked about where we would want to put those, where it could be accessible for people. And we talked about the high school being one, and then maybe this public seating area down here, because town hall, of course, has hours and is closed at certain times, but that would be accessible to everybody and be kind of in the center of town.
So as part of the pantry, you mean?
Yeah. And kind of in these conversations that we've been having, Monroe signed on, Charlemont signed on, Gill, like all these other places, it's part of it is having access to naloxone, again, in any location outside of Greenfields, and being able to do it in a way where for some folks you could access things privately. So kind of if it felt too public in one location, you could go to another one. This is something that just at the last meeting in Coleraine, one of the nurses who's on their board of health stood up and said, you know, I work as a nurse, and I really wish that everybody who was prescribed opioids was also given naloxone. It's a medication that only affects the opioid receptors, so if you had another issue and were given it by accident, you would have no effect. But it's also something, too, that she said in her work that there are a lot of folks that are prescribed opiates for good reasons and use them appropriately, but it doesn't preclude a grandkid from being around and taking something in a medicine cabinet, or someone who might have dementia and take too much and wanting to have something in the house as well.
How do you attach that?
There are a couple of options, one of which being if we could have a kind of like a, you could, yeah, do it into a wall. You
Drill
could
from
like
the inside, you can see it where,
yeah, they can drill out here and here. There's also, I think in Charlemont, what we're gonna do is get essentially like a metal zip tie or zip ties and kind of put it on some railings. Because they have a place where there's concrete down here and some railings above, and it can kind of just rest. So, yeah, number of different options.
So it becomes a way to distribute naloxone without having to ask a pharmacist, ask your doctor. You know, if somebody has a child who's using, they could pick this up with, you know, with privacy, with no judgment, no shame, and that could possibly save a life.
How do you replenish the supply?
Great question. So at this point in time, the nursing program is part of the state's community naloxone program, so we get naloxone for free. So I can order it within 48 hours. I can have it either shipped here or I can have it shipped to the office in Greenfield. Also, through a separate but very similar arm of the program, all first responders, usually fire departments in Massachusetts, are able to get naloxone for free as well. So Herb Guyette would be somebody that could source it as well.
So we'd have somebody who it would be their responsibility to check the boxes. Also, because it is a medication and it's somewhat temperature sensitive, if there was going to be a super cold night, we would have to remove all the naloxone before like a very cold night, and then restock it in the morning when the temperature goes back up. So that person could be monitoring for, you know, when it needed to be refilled.
I've also neglected to pass some of these out.
I mean, if you were gonna be putting one in at the school, it would probably be inside anyways, I would guess.
Well, I was thinking it would be outside because, again, you know, the problem with town hall is that it closes up, and same with the school.
The accessibility.
Yeah, and if it were outside, it might be easier for it to be more anonymous.
The school is also tricky because kind of anything inside of the school building is technically dictated by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. So kind of you get in the building and all of a sudden these rules from Boston kind of take precedence. But outside, you know, it's a regional property.
So does the school committee have to approve this?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have to talk to them, or maybe somebody has a connection with the school.
Right.
To do that. The other thing about it being inside is that not anybody these days can walk into a school, so
Right, yeah,
outside would be no problem.
Yeah. So that's the other update, that this is in progress. So, thank you. There should be some other information in your packet. We, of course, in doing this, had to give it a name. So there should be a either kind of an update for you guys as well, and another piece of paper. Is there one in there that says Rural Communities Naloxone Cabinet Initiative?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So that's just some more information. Feel free to take a look at it. I think it kind of addresses a lot of frequently asked questions and some concerns as well. So, yeah. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to support the initiative of the Community Public Health Cooperative and the Buckland Board of Health by authorizing the expenditure of the accumulated funds in the opioid special revenue fund account.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Larry, I've got
Nice to meet you.
diabetic dogs
Yeah.
too, and I've got so many of those needles. I've figured out what I can do with them now.
Mile Street in Greenfield, if you know where that is, just down, it's the last building down on the right.
Okay.
And I was told to go there, and I don't know,
Yeah.
all I know is I walked in and the hallway was just filled with barrels full of.
You're in the right place.
Oh, I'm in the right place. Hey,
thanks,
they
everybody.
sort them all into smaller containers.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That took a while.
All right. Nice to meet everybody, and thank you for your time.
So what do they
Thank
do
you.
with those needles?
They'll ship them off to a medical waste location. I don't actually know where they are. There's probably one in Springfield.
They can't recycle them, they just
No, I think they,
destroy?
I think they can melt it down.
I think the closest one I want to say is
Yeah,
out,
yeah,
near
exactly.
Worcester.
No Worcester?
Out that way.
Okay. You can, I mean, this is, again, my medical research
Yeah.
background, you can autoclave them, so you can sterilize
Right.
them, and then you could either reuse or recycle, but I don't know what they do in the process.
I think he'd probably melt them right down and get rid of them, use them because the company making them wants to make new ones.
Fair enough, okay. Great, thank you, good night.
Have a good
night.
All right. Our next appointment is not until 6:15, so we will start tackling some of our agenda items. Moving on there. We have a Board of Health appointment, Kate Conlon. If appointed, Kate would serve until the next election, when she would need to take out nomination papers and be elected. If elected, she would serve the rest of Peggy Hart's unexpired term, which expires in May of '26. But she would still have to go into the next election?
Yes.
Right. We do have,
Hi.
hello, we do have a form for her,
Come on in.
that I saw.
Right here.
Yep. So I'll make a motion to appoint Kate Conlon to serve on the Buckland Board of Health until the next town election in June of '25.
I second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
We have the Riverview Pocket Park Committee appointment of Taylor Schulda. Taylor's lived in Sherwood Falls her whole life. She's an avid biker. And she would like to be able to give back to her community. Well, we've got a pretty decent committee going already, so.
We do. I just want to make a note that the committee has asked that we formally change their name. We have them as a sort of a generic bike park, pocket park committee, and they would like to be known as the Riverview Park Committee. So I think,
Riverview Pocket Park Committee, okay,
Yeah.
see it, yeah.
so if you can first change their name and then appoint, that might be,
All right. I'll make a motion to change the name of the Bike Park Committee to the Riverview Pocket Park Committee.
I'll second that.
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. I'll also make another motion to appoint Taylor Schulda to a one-year term expiring in June of '25.
Second that.
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right. We have the Woodlands Walk at Cricket Field, and the project sign and grand opening event.
so Kay, when she was in Fall Festival, when she came in a few weeks ago to talk to you a little bit about how the park was coming along, she had mentioned that there was a sign that was being installed. I forwarded to you the draft language. Joan, the copywriter, got back with some edits, which were great. And so this is the final draft. I put it up on the screen here. This would be the front. This would be the back. And I think it's attractive. It's not overly wordy.
Will it be that color too?
I think so, yes,
Okay,
yes,
I like
yeah. So
And where down there would it be?
the sign is actually erected now. It's close to where the little sitting area is. So,
By the ball field or out at the?
oh,
out
it's,
by the
yeah,
pavilion?
out by the pavilion. Close to where the wooded Buckland really begins.
Okay.
So on the outskirts of the park.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented. the language for the new sign introducing the Cricket Field Woodlands Walk project.
Second that.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
And we already approved the Taylor rate.
Yes.
Yes.
The bylaw codification project. So I was reading through what it is that they were working on for their codification, and it looks to me like there's going to be a lot of word changes in some of these bylaws, which means it will have to go to town meeting. It's not something that we can approve. So I would suggest that they get all this put together to be able to present at the annual town meeting for any bylaw changes.
I also thought we were going to have, the police chief was going to come in and weigh in on the...
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to actually catch up with him on it
Okay.
yet, so.
So what might be even more efficient is, because a lot of the changes would be something that the select board would have jurisdiction over. So the bylaw review committee would maybe benefit if a member of the select board acted as a liaison and maybe went to one of their working sessions to go through these changes, rather than having the board work through them independently. I don't know if there's anybody on the board that would have some copy editor experience
I don't know, maybe this.
that would be interested in maybe wordsmithing.
Yes, okay, I guess, but I have a question before I say yeah, okay?
I didn't say you, Joan.
Did you hear that? She just said yeah.
No, I did not.
Second.
So what I understand is, what is the stuff in the back, though?
So-
Earth removal and,
So I think that what Alicia did was looking at other towns' bylaws
yes,
and noticing that other towns have bylaws for earth removal and open container and a variety of other bylaws that she wanted to bring to your attention in the event that you wanted to add those bylaw options to our bylaws. I went through them. I don't see that we don't have an earth, we don't have earth removal, we don't have quarries or pits that would need bylaw or codification. We seem to be very okay managing our own open container situation. I know there would be a lot of pushback from the community on that. So unless there was one of the bylaws, one of the optional bylaws that jumped out that you feel we should pursue, I think you can pretty well ignore.
Use restrictions, that's not something that would be in our bylaws because
right,
we're
I agree with you.
under a district.
And would
Yeah.
wetlands protection be under Conservation Commission?
Yeah.
And-
Yep.
The DEP's got that pretty well handled. So, but again, if a select board member participated in a working session of the bylaw committee, the bylaw review committee, I think it would be more practical, and then that select board member could bring back the recommendations for town meeting.
All right,
All right.
I think they've already gone through and tackled this pretty well,
right, so,
so.
And they've been bringing back bylaw edits for the past 4 or 5 town meetings, and I think it's a good practice to have a regular review. And I think it makes sense that a select board person participates in that process, since it's a select board that would eventually call or vote to put these as warrant articles on a town meeting warrant.
okay, so to clarify this, so Where can you see the originals? I mean, this is the revised, or is what they're proposing, that they want to revise is the...
If you don't have a copy of the bylaws, I will make sure you have one tomorrow. Yeah, I'll get you one.
I believe I have one, a copy.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's fine. I volunteer.
I love it. But, so, for Dina, when Dina was on the select board, she was on the bylaw review, and I think that when she got off the select board, she stayed on bylaw review, but we never carried over that anybody from the select board participated.
And the only ones they want to, is the ones that they propose, these are the changes, right? I mean, we have a lot more bylaws than this.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
I think those are probably just the ones that they've been working on.
Yeah.
Oh, I see, okay,
So, I mean, there could potentially be more.
okay. But should we have the
You know,
chief
but
weigh in?
But that'll be something to where I think it'll be good to where you can reach out to the chief and maybe we can just get that forwarded to him so he can kind of glance it over
Yeah,
and see
He's got a
what
copy.
his recommendations would be for any of it. You know, and then go from there.
Great.
Okay. All right, so we don't need any vote for any of that tonight. We do have 2 other letters for hire for the transfer station. And Mr. Gutierrez has applied to be our transfer station attendant, our lead attendant, I
Yes.
guess would be
Yes.
his title, as opposed to assistant attendant. So that one there, I would,
Since we're promoting him,
yes.
although I think he'll keep his station in the back.
He did ask that.
We will not make him go up front.
He's so effective down back.
He is so
Chris will
effective.
do fine up front.
And Chris will do
Yes, he
fine in
will.
the front.
He will.
All right. Well, I will make a motion to appoint Mr. Gutierrez to the lead transfer station attendant, effective September 31st.
Which is this Saturday. And Sodi has said that is his last day. So, Sodi's done. We wore him out.
So, is it my turn?
Yep. Sure.
So I second that.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye. He's from New Mexico originally.
Okay, and then we also have another for Christopher Valentin, who would be applying for the transfer station assistant attendant.
We'll have you abstain from any further part of this, so either Larry or Joan, take it from here, please.
All right, Laura, you do that.
Well, basically, okay, we'll just make a motion that we accept his, or accept him as our assistant, I guess we'll say transfer station attendant. You can second as you want, Chairman.
Yeah, you second that?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No?
Okay, in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you very much.
And you saying one
Serving
abstain,
town.
yep. Yep. So that's approved. Good. 2 good people, so.
All right. We are as close to 6:15 as we're going to get, and we made it through all of our agenda items. So we will move on to the Franklin County Housing Authority with the fiscal year 24 CDBG response to special conditions. Everybody. We have Brian McHugh to present and discuss
Just tip that
steps
towards.
towards
right, tip that
release
towards
of
you,
funds
please.
for the town's housing rehab program.
Yes, hi everyone, thanks for having me. As you know, you were awarded a community development block grant along with the towns of Coleraine and Ashfield in the amount of $1.375 million for a housing rehab program that's going to run across the 3 towns. With these grants, they typically put special conditions on the grants that the town needs to respond to. There are 3 special conditions that were put on this grant. Some of them are unique to a grant, and some of them are what they consider to be global special conditions that could get put on all the grantees that are awarded grants in this. I will say sometimes we have that information already in the grant application, and we have to still, they ask for us or ask the town to respond to this, even though it might be in the application, so I'll get to that in a second. But the first special condition was that the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, which is formerly known as the Department of Housing and Community Development, DHCD, asked that we revise our anti-speculation and recapture plan, which is something that we put together and put into the grant application, and it basically spells out how how you're going to guard against speculation for people who might go through the program, use the program to fix up a house and turn it over and sell it at a profit, let's say. So the terms of the loans for these grants, which are across the board in the state now, is that they're forgiven over the course of 15 years at a minimum of $115 per year. And so after 15 years, if you stayed in your house, you don't owe anything on that grant or on that loan that's given out. EOHLC, I'll call them, or HLC, asks that we strike or delete language in our anti-speculation and recapture plan that sort of spells out what the terms are. How the way that it reads is that if the title of the real estate becomes vested legally or equitably in any person other than the maker, whether voluntarily, involuntarily, or by operation of law, prior to the end of the said 15-year forgiveness period, or if the maker violates any of the terms, then the amount of the principal due and owing shall be the sum total of each annual prorata share reduced by on the reduction date. They felt like that was confusing, and it probably sounds confusing. So they just want us to take it out, and they feel like it's good. What's in our plan is that when the loan or when the property transfers ownership, that it will simply be you owe, whatever you borrowed minus the $115 per year after that. They wanted to get rid of it so it's not confusing to people. That's the first thing. So we in the letter that we've drafted, it just basically says that language will be struck from the anti-speculation and recapture plan. So that's the first one. There was 3 special conditions. The second one was that the contractor, being the town, will submit for the Executive Office's approval the postings of the public hearing for the FY24 application. This is one of those ones that might be a global special condition. We haven't seen this before, but in the grant application, we submitted all the documentation for the public hearings, the clipping from the recorder, the postings at the town halls, the screenshots of the hearings on each town hall, each town's website. So we're not really sure why they're asking for this one, but we've gathered that documentation, and that's in the response also. The third one is that the contractor, being the town, will submit for the Executive Office's approval a budget amendment to add in $158,902 in program income to the housing rehab budget. We have an agreement with your town and the other 2 towns in this to run a housing revolving loan fund program, which is financed through paybacks from previous housing rehab loans. So we have it in-house. We're able to reloan it. When we put in the grant application, there was $158,000 across the 3 towns in that fund. We did make one loan out of the Ashfields Fund for a septic system up there, so the amount is reduced by down to $128,000. So this is just asking us to do a budget amendment, which is in the documents here, that adds in the $128,000 into the grant, and so that brings the grant total to about $1.5 million. So we're able to do a couple more projects, basically. So those are the 3 special conditions. If anybody has any questions about them, I'd be glad to answer them.
No, I know I've probably hammered my questions the last couple times you've been in here, so I don't.
Yep.
It's a great program. I mean, the people whose septic system fails, or that's probably one of the primary things you help with, right?
That's one of the bigger ones these days, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of failed septic systems. We do a lot of wells, do a lot of lead paint abatement,
Right.
roofs, but septic systems, for some reason, we seem to have a bunch of them coming through these days.
And this is for income eligible.
Yeah, so you're
Clients.
at 80% of the area median income is how you qualify. So,
No, it's a great program.
Any other questions? No? I'll make a motion to approve the prepared response to special conditions as presented and authorize the chair to sign a letter to the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities.
I'll second that, I guess.
Don't you?
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll get this scanned to Sharon first thing.
All right, thanks. Did you get the other thing from
There
her?
was the
Exemption form there?
the exemption forms, which I have to sign,
Yeah.
right? Yes.
You don't have it.
Yeah, sorry,
that's
don't go on vacation, all right? The re-entry is brutal.
Don't let her
So
off the hook, Brian, don't let her off the hook. You want it?
I'll get everything to her in the morning.
So what I just heard her saying is that she's giving up the other 2 weeks that she asked for off.
Okay, all right.
Nice to see you. What's that? Exactly. I know. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Brian.
All right, do we have, I know there was a couple of people that were they coming on for this one?
But,
Linda? or
the
wait?
6:30 we gotta wait till 6:30 for the public hearing. We just wanna make sure that we've got the Zoom ready in the
All
event
right,
that
well, we'll move on then. We'll go to,
I only Zoom for the public hearing.
we'll move on to our documents.
It's exhausted.
We have a contract with Iron Horse Structures for the Buckland Sand and Salt Shed. Would you like to speak on that? Iron Horse Structures?
Yeah, Iron Horse Structures was the sole bidder for the Buckland, to construct the Buckland salt and sand shed at 2 Street. They were under budget. Their bid was complete. At your last meeting, you signed a notice to award. They have countersigned that, and they have signed the contract document that you have in front of you. Once you sign the contract, we'll set a schedule with them. We have to do some survey work up there, and we are responsible for the site work and the pouring of the asphalt pads. And so we'll want to have a schedule and get going on that, and then they'll come in and do the concrete walls and the awning.
That's what I was gonna ask, what's it gonna look like?
Yeah, we had some pictures of it, I think, when we went out to
It's gonna
bid.
kind of look, it'll be a
It'll
smaller
be-
version of the one at the State Yard.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, oh, all right, I know
Yeah.
what you're talking about.
This is, and Iron Horse Structures is the same company that provides Mass DOT with their awnings and their structures. So they clearly have a history of putting these structures up and doing so efficiently, and we're excited that they've bid on our project.
So everything that's in the old highway garage will be cleaned out of there and eventually brought up there, or is that empty now?
No, well, we'll move if there's any salt or sand.
Okay.
But I think the instruction to the crew this past spring, was to get the levels as low as possible, so there's not a lot to move.
Yes.
Good.
I mean, they can
Yeah.
use that the first couple of storms too.
Right, right.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
not like that's going anywhere, so we
Right,
can,
right. But any deliveries that we take going forward will be to the new facility.
And when will this start? When will it start?
I don't have a start date because I know that we have to get in there and do the survey work
Okay.
first and get our asphalt accord. But we won't,
Work first
yeah.
before they can.
yeah, but we won't be, we will not be dawdling on this project.
I'm sure you won't.
All right. I'll make a motion to authorize the chair to sign the contract for Iron Horse Structures, Inc. For the construction of the Buckland Sand and Salt Shed at 2 Seal Street.
I second that.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. We have the Mass in Motion Memorandum of Understanding for 2025.
This has been a great program. I'm so appreciative that we have the opportunity. It's not a lot of money, it's about $4,600, but it's been money that we've been able to spend on the benches at Buckland Rec and along the trails, and we'll have one up here on Ashfield. And we also used a portion, we used the money towards the new microphone system in the hall. It's just, it's a nice little cache of money that is available for some of the projects that make life a little bit easier for our senior population. So,
I'll make a motion to sign the MOU with the Franklin Regional Council of Governments for age-friendly planning and participate in the fiscal year 25 Mass in Motion program.
I'll second that.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Permits and licenses. We have a street use permit for the Juggler Meadow Morrismen and Wake Robin Morrismen. Now, she put it in here. Let me find it. So they are, the date of their event is 10/13/24. Looks like it's been approved by the police department as well. So both will be at the same time.
yes, I think that the way that they described it in their letter is that they have a couple of different locations here in the village that they'll be performing. I'm sure that they'll post a schedule.
All right. We'll make a motion to approve a street use permit for both Juggler Meadow Morrismen and the Wake Robin Morrismen for October 13th, 2024. Looks like from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m.
I second that.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We have the meeting minutes from July 23rd and August 5th. Mary came in hot this afternoon with both of them. Got them in at the closing bell.
And the ink was still wet.
That's right.
The thing of it is, the others were done last night.
That's right.
Guilty.
It's okay. Did anybody have any changes or anything to the minutes?
No, I made a suggestion
Yep.
earlier, that's it.
Yep, which got changed. So I'll make a motion to approve both July 23rd and August 5th meeting minutes as written.
Oh, me?
Yes.
I'll second that.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We have the warrants. We've got our vendor and payroll warrants, both 2505 and 2506 for each. I'll make a motion to approve all vendor and payroll warrants.
Second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Still got a couple filing in. Items not reasonably anticipated by chair 48 hours in advance. I don't have anything, right, Heather? For sure I got it. Select board member concerns?
Well, I don't have any concerns, but since our last meeting, we had the dedication of the food pantry,
Yes.
which I thought that was very successful. You think in a towns like we have, that there might be people where people don't need that, but all it takes is to lose a job, or someone gets sick, or someone dies, or, a lot of reasons, and things get tough. So it's nice that we have that. That was a great thing. And today, Congressman McGovern went to different farms in our area, and he went to Tip Top Farm, which I had never known what was going up there, but they grow flowers for commercial use. It was really quite good, and it was on Shepherd Road. It was also an opportunity to give the congressman and Representative Ray a ride to Avery Road and to look at the big hole there. And so McGovern, Jim wanted Heather to reach out to his office, maybe his funding, I don't know, but it was, if it happens, it'd be great, so that's all I have to offer.
Excellent. Larry, anything?
No. Well, after seeing all the people up on Elm Street, so I know I'm going to be able to get down.
Well, I did mention Elm Street to him too. I said, if that goes, there's like so many people can't leave their homes, but.
Some days it's not a bad idea, but.
All right. Well, we are at 6:30 now, so we will move on to our next appointment, which is the Community Development Block Grant Program. Public hearing for repurposing funds for Avery Road repairs. Linda Overing is here to present to the board during the public hearing.
To read in the record the notice.
Did you have it?
I don't know.
I can pull it up if you want me to. Maybe I can't.
When you talk to her, I can't hear you.
Glenn, do you have it right in front of you?
No.
It was on the website.
Oh, she's got it. Got it. All right. Tuesday, August 27th, 2024, 6:30 p.m. The town of Buckland will hold a public hearing at the Buckland Town Hall, second floor, 17 State Street, Shelburne Falls. The hearing is in person or via Zoom. This hearing will discuss the reprogramming of up to $350,000 in surplus grant funds from the town's fiscal year 22-23 Community Development Block Grant to Avery Road emergency repairs and related administrative costs. Any agency or individual who wishes to be heard on this matter will be given the opportunity. In addition, comments in writing or by email to Heather Butler, the town administrator, 17 State Street, Shelburne Falls, Mass. 01370, or to her email, which is twnadmin@town.buckland.ma.us. Will be accepted prior to the hearing. Special accommodations will be attempted upon written request with 7 days prior notice to the town administrator. All right. Would you like this back?
Actually, yes. The record, I'll have to send to the state.
So it needs to be seconded?
No, because it's just you're opening the
Okay.
hearing.
Just
Okay.
judging.
Okay.
So, I'm the grant administrator for the Community Development Block Grant. The Buckland got, it's called a FY 22-23. We got about $1.3 million about a year ago. And the big project with that grant was to work on Depot Street and the Freight Street parking lot. I would say we're about 90% done with that. And we knew back in January when we bid the job, we got a very good bid. It was under the estimate of the cost. And by the time I came and talked with the board in late May, we looked like we were projecting a $350,000 surplus. So grant money we would not need to go to depot or freight that could be repurposed for something that was considered CDBG eligible. There are certain projects that CDBG will fund, others it won't. So the summer, when Heather was talking to me about all the things that were happening this summer, especially with roads, Avery Road came up. And it's unique in that from my understanding, it's an isolated event in that it's not what part of a statewide flood event that happened. It was just Avery Road that day that it got that kind of damage. And so I said that might qualify for CDBG funds. They have a category called urgent need, where it's an emergency situation for which the town can get no other assistance, which is my understanding of where the town is right now. It's not eligible for FEMA funds or the mass emergency funds. So it would be either the town paying for it out of its pocket, which is a challenge right now with all your other responsibilities and emergencies, or so it would qualify under this limited CDBG definition. So we did reach out to the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, formerly DHCD, and asked them if they would consider this to qualify as urgent need, and they said yes. So we've sort of been moving in multiple fronts to see if we could reprogram the surplus money from our grant to what I understand, and Heather, if I'm correct, it's kind of the emergency stabilization.
Right.
Not the long-term
Not the
solution.
long-term plan. This is to address the immediate damage with the big hole, and also that slope that has dropped away, creating a lack of lane on that far side of the road. So, and replacing culverts underneath that in order to then build that road back up again. It's not going to be a long-term fix for that road.
With what we're using that $350,000 for, it's just for those limited, I think, to get the road reopened.
Right,
is the goal.
exactly.
I believe you've gotten permission from DCAM to do an emergency procurement,
Yes.
which makes it a little faster.
Yeah.
So now what we're dealing with is there are certain bureaucratic steps that CDBG requires in order to reprogram funds.
Yeah.
The first of them is this public hearing, for which we had to give at least 2 weeks' notice to discuss whether the public supports and the board supports this request to reprogram the funds for this use. So we have to discuss that in public, and if the board so moves and votes that tonight, we will submit a request to the agency. It might take them a week or so to approve that. At the same time, we've also been going down a process they call an environmental review. So HUD is the funder of the Community Development Block Grant Program. They have their own special rules for how you evaluate environmental impact of every project. One of the things we had to do is go to Mass Historic and make sure that we're in the historic resources that might be threatened by any of our work up there. We've gotten that clearance back. I think Heather is going to be working with the Conservation Commission and getting an order of conditions to do the work that we want to do short term. A challenge we have right now is that HUD is not enthusiastic about funding anything that occurs in the FEMA floodplain. And Avery Brook, I think you have that's the old name for the brook that's running right through where the problem is. That HUD declared that a flood area, that brook, just the brook, back in the 80s when they did the flood maps for Buckland. It's kind of unusual. Usually they're in a more populated area. But
It was super helpful.
so, yeah.
Super helpful.
But it's funny because they funded Depot Street and,
But you're outside. The floodplain here is the river.
right.
It's not, but the idea the river would go up there, But anyway, so what we've been trying for the last 10 days is to get a decision from the agency about whether they're going to make us go through a process of evaluating any alternatives. It usually adds about 3 weeks to the process of what they call the environmental review, call it 8-step process to determine whether there's no alternative to fixing the road, which will be the answer at the end, but we must do this thing because we have to evaluate all alternatives to spending their money on something that's in a floodplain. You know, HUD, Housing and Urban Development, that's the name of the agency. These rules are primarily about housing, building housing over and over and over to get it flooded out, and that's why they don't make it just very easy to spend their money in a floodplain. But there's no different rules for infrastructure projects, and we have to follow these. So I think we'll find a solution. Our hope is that we can get it done so we can still do the construction this fall.
Yeah. We're just getting incoming from Emily,
Yes, asking some more questions.
asking additional questions,
Yeah,
of course, yeah.
right.
Yeah. So, not to belabor or to ask for, any empathy from the board we really, Linda and I have been working on this very steadily for the last 3 weeks, really, since we identified these funds and we understood that this urgent need would be an option for us. We're just, as you can imagine, we're running into red tape, which is what is delaying the process up there. We're optimistic. We're optimistic that we will find a way through, but it's just really delaying our ability to get up there and do the work. The alternative that the board has is that because we do have the waiver from, and I'm going to use another acronym, but it's DCAM, which is basically the State Procurement Agency. They have given us the authority to go out and just do the work without having to go through the bid process. We could hire a contractor tomorrow and have them go do the work. The problem is then we have to pay them, right? And the board could deficit spend. They could spend money that we don't officially have in order to repair that road more quickly. But then we'd have to come to a town meeting in the not too distant future and ask taxpayers to raise and appropriate that money to be able to then pay these contractors. So it would come back to the town to appropriate additional money, which is why we're really working hard to sort of run this option of getting at least $350,000 to get that road stabilized and repaired and back open for all of you, without having to tap into town funds. And then that allows me a little bit of time to look at grants and other funding sources to do the longer term fix. To do the longer term fix for the road. So that
We're on Zoom.
I know. So that I wouldn't come down if I knew that. So that's a strategy, and I'm sorry to sort of take but I wanted to make sure that people that are watching at home or that are on Zoom understand that although the delay has been a nuisance for all of you that live up there, there's a reason that we're trying to bring this as far as we can possibly go to be able to use these repurposed funds so that I'm not then asking the select board to then come back and ask you for more money. So
Basically, we're taking a little bit of time to see if we can get it done for free before we actually have to pay for it.
he's always more concise with his words.
Sometimes people don't like to beat around the bush, especially when we've already been here for an hour and a half.
But who's counting?
That's right. But really what it boils down to is we are doing everything we can, and we are very hopeful that it will get all repaired and get reopened by winter. By winter. So.
That's not acceptable.
Well, I mean, if all the townspeople want to shell out the money that it's going to cost.
How much is it
do
going to
them.
cost?
We're not quite sure yet, but we're looking at $350,000 of free money that we can use to make those repairs.
I'm concerned
that's what we're
because I live
working
on
through.
every road, and I'm 96 years old.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if I need an ambulance?
They will still get to you.
Yeah, I might be too late.
Yeah.
You know how long it takes me to get down here?
No, I
Half an hour.
fully understand.
Before that, it was 10 minutes.
Yep.
I'm really annoyed. That is, because this bureaucracy drags on and on and on. Before we know it, the winter will be here. At
Well,
least we could have half a road or something.
I'd love to be able to give you half a road if there was half a road there. You know, it's the reason why it got completely closed is because the whole road is washing away. And
But to sit around for months waiting for free money or waiting for, money, if you think it's going to take months and months, that's serious.
But we're not looking at months and months from what we're saying. She's saying we're probably 3 to 4 weeks out.
Yeah, I'm at least that,
Yeah.
yes.
So, if, once we get the answer on that, we can certainly move in the other
But
direction and go to the
I thought I would
emergency
just put in
spending.
my say, because I am concerned.
No, we appreciate that, we understand, and I sympathize with you, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and then not only that, but it costs me money when help can't get there for another 15, 20 minutes when I have help.
I understand.
I'm paying for services just for them to travel, and I don't have them come to help me. And they complain, and they say, when are you going to have the road fixed? So that's why I want to know when. When will we know?
When will we know? Well, I guess that's up to the board, whether or not we want to continue down this road, and we'll continue to negotiate with HUD, or if you feel that it's not something that you want to pursue, and we'll hire contractors tomorrow. I guess that's the board's decision.
Yeah, I mean, it's not gonna be cheap to fix that road. I take into full consideration, and that's, the first day that I was up there after it happened, that was my main concern, was definitely access and, and the delayed response of all services. But we also have to look at the money factor of it as well, I wish we could say, yeah, we have this money sitting right here in Chapter 90 funds, and it will cover everything. The fact of the matter is we don't. So we're going to have to take out a loan, which is going to affect everybody in town on their taxes. Or if we have to wait a couple of months to be able to possibly have that money for nothing, and that road is going to get repaired at no cost to the town, I think it would be, for the inconvenience that there is up there right now, I think it would be, bad on our part as a board to not at least try to see this, but still also keep it, to where we make sure that the repairs are going to get done this fall, so that the road is back open.
I have a question. I live at 68 Avery Road, so I'm going to take a long way to get down. What is the main reason it's closed, the culvert?
Yeah, you have culverts collapsing, but also the embankment is also
Where the
collapsing.
guardrails are just...
Correct, yep.
But what I was wondering is if the culvert could be dug up and just coarse stone put in to fill that so the water could go through and we could drive over?
So,
As a Band-Aid?
so the problem is, I think, I think Linda can probably, so that is something that we kind of wanted to try to do.
Right.
To at least get that back open.
Right.
The issue is when we're going for this CDBG funding, we can't do any work on it until we're approved for it.
So is it possible to do something like that if you have to before winter, if things don't, I mean?
So I think it's at some point in the next day or two, we're going to find out whether or not HUD is going to give us the green light. I don't expect that we'll be waiting too much longer to hear back whether or not.
Yeah, I think because it's Labor Day week, I'm always a little bit, maybe a little more cautious
Okay.
because I never know who's on vacation in the world.
Understood.
Yeah, but then I think it's a question of 3 weeks for the FEMA process, then it will be 7 weeks from when if they make us do the long process instead of.
If they make us do the long process.
Yeah.
So,
But meanwhile,
On the
you can be
outside-
out there working with the contractors,
Okay, I
defining the
forgot
scope,
that.
having a contract ready to
Yeah.
go.
yeah,
So the idea is the day we get clearance,
right.
you can say go.
Right.
So everything,
Right.
it's not like with some projects when we get clearance from HUD, then we go out to bid.
Right.
You can have all that.
Right.
Right, and that's, and we do have our quotes. We have talked to local contractors. We know who's going to do which piece. We know who's going to do the trucking. We know who's going to do the culverts. We know who's going to do the slope. That's all set. So as soon as we get the all clear, the green light, and whether it's a 3-week process or 7-week process, depending upon the environmental review that Linda's already sort of explained about the floodplain. So with, 3 weeks or 7
They add
weeks?
3 weeks if they make us go through the floodplain, at
Okay.
least 3 weeks, and then another month beyond that, so 7 weeks.
And just so you guys are aware as well, we actually just got all these quotes back from these contractors that are gonna be doing the work. So, nothing, even if we had the money on hand, this project still wouldn't have been started at this point. So,
2 months since it happened.
I understand that, but it takes
July
time.
5th, I know. I know, believe me.
Unfortunately, it takes time.
July 5th, yep.
I'm glad we have it.
Sure does. It should. Sure does.
So if I could just, thank you for having this hearing, and thank you for listening and having, it sounds like you're empathetic to our issue, which has obviously been very challenging for all of us. I just want you to know that I took a quick look at the numbers of the residents who live up there, and of the 20 people on Avery Road that I counted, 11 are seniors. And on Shepherd Road, of the 8 people, 5 are seniors. And so that's just to piggyback on what Monica said here. It's just a little scary if you are getting elderly.
I'm gonna, when we write back tomorrow, we'll use this information. I'm sorry, how many on Avery?
Of the 20, 11 are seniors on Avery, and on Shepherd, of the 8, 5 are seniors.
That's good information.
That is good to know.
And I'm gonna use your direct quote back to them.
96 is not,
We're getting there, Larry. Hang on.
oh, thank you, but I can prove it.
Okay, Larry, go ahead.
I had a quick question for Linda. For many years, we've had a difficult time with GPS, Google, and Amazon, who continually confuse Avery Brook Road with Avery Road. And I'm wondering whether HUD and all this floodplain conversation might be thinking about Avery Brook Road versus Avery Road. I've never heard Avery Brook associated with Avery Road.
So, unfortunately, when we put the actual project coordinates into the FEMA floodplain interactive map, which is what HUD does, the dot of your project area is smack dab in the middle of the FEMA flood zone area. It isn't a question of the misunderstanding the name of the road. It's the GPS coordinates that get plugged into the FEMA maps.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sorry. Good try.
Well, I got you Representative McGovern down there.
I know,
Let's
I
get
know.
this money. Go.
I know. And Natalie has already reached out this evening, and she and I will loop in tomorrow and see what our local legislators can do to help push this along. I think Linda's got a pretty good handle on the timing of it, and worst case scenario, 7 weeks. Worst case scenario.
Linda, thank you.
Thank you.
Best case scenario, 3 weeks.
4 weeks.
4 weeks. Best. Okay.
4 weeks.
She's always got to push my week back.
Any other questions? No? Marty? I see you guys are on there. Do you guys have any questions?
No, thank you. Just glad to be here, and thank you for having the hearing.
Okay. All right. You guys have any other questions?
No, I don't have any questions. I'm glad that's trying to expedite this as quickly as possible, because I live in Elm Street, and Elm Street now has 2 culverts that are football shaped, and there's 40 houses, and I just counted myself included. There are about 20 some odd senior citizens who could be left, although he'd rather I get stuck there, but yeah. So we do. I sympathize with you, I understand all the way, and I know Heather and Linda are, believe me, they're giving you.
Yeah, I wish I could say it was just that section of road in town.
Yeah, it's so odd.
We've got a
North
lot of
Street,
stuff
yeah.
that we're chasing right now, which is making it much more difficult as well.
And I think I know Herb Guy yet, and if you have an emergency, he will anything in his power to get to your house. So I don't know if that makes you feel better. I understand. I'm not a spring chicken myself anymore, but they will. Our emergency groups will do everything. So. Okay,
Thank you.
Don't be afraid to call. Well, really, it's important. They'll take care of you.
Well, I thought it would move things along.
Yeah, well, it helps. You're to say, I think you've moved us all to hope.
Well, I mean, I think I speak for the entire board to where, I say that we definitely know where your concerns are.
Yeah.
We understand them, and we are doing everything that we can to get this project done as quickly as possible. But if we can, hold off for a few extra weeks and have it bought and paid for without it coming down on all the taxpayers to do it, I would be remiss to say, that, just to get a couple extra weeks.
We'll offer it up.
Huh?
We'll offer it up.
So, but yes, our intention is to move on this as soon as it's ready to go. Like Heather said, we've got the contractors lined up. They are ready to rock and roll. We're waiting on the funding to green light this, and next thing, one day you're gonna show up or you're gonna start hearing all the equipment down the road, and you'll know it's coming.
I understand your road's been pretty busy anyway with the contractors, so. And actually, a couple of them have said that they couldn't start the town's work until they finished your work anyway. Yeah, so.
Oh, bet you time. Bet you time.
So really, what it boils down to is it's Larry's fault that this is. And that's why he wouldn't show up tonight. He didn't want to face the music. But no, we are moving as quickly as we possibly can with this project, and it is a top priority for us.
And any questions, just, you know where Larry lives.
That's right.
Maybe we could have Monica just call Emily directly and explain that this is unacceptable. Are you willing to make a couple of phone calls tomorrow?
The bureaucrats.
Okay, if there's no other questions, comments? Okay,
Thank you.
we will,
Let's hope.
we'll move on. I'll make a motion to request the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities to amend Buckland's fiscal year 22-23 CDBG to add emergency repairs to Avery Road to the grant by transferring surplus funds from the Depot Street Freight Yard parking lot project to Avery Road as follows: $341,250 for construction, $8,750 for administration, and $1,250 from surplus program delivery to administration.
Second that?
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you all for coming in. Thanks, Larry.
There was a form in your packet, if you can sign
Yes.
that.
Very often, people screw, mess up Avery Road. Very often.
Do you need to take that out with you now, Linda?
No, I'll scan and show them all.
Instead of Avery Road.
Town Administrator's report. Do we want to give it a minute?
It's just,
People
just
figure
that,
out?
just where it crosses the road and it disappears, it doesn't fall. I could send you a map, you can see.
I trust you.
Yeah, it goes back to the 80s before the GPS, even before it was GPS, they did the map, and they
Yeah.
just,
It was nice to get that.
yeah, because initially, when I was searching, I was getting the Charlemont
great.
Road.
Yes,
Yes,
exactly.
it's right, but she didn't.
And I didn't think it was ever called Avery Road. I always thought it was K.
Yeah, I mean, maps it was, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay. I just want, if you want to keep talking.
Yeah, outside. Okay, sorry. Thank you.
I didn't know if you
Heather
wanted.
said she will get that signed and scanned to you tomorrow.
Okay,
I have it
Okay.
here, it'll get signed tonight.
Great,
Thank you.
and I will probably summarize, I have to send in the minutes of the meeting, and we don't want to wait 2 weeks, so I'll type up the minutes of the public hearing, and I'll share them with you.
Okay.
Okay, have that part done.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And we'll coordinate our response tomorrow.
All right.
Can you,
Oh, I didn't sign that, Linda.
can you forward that list to me?
Yeah.
Also?
Yeah, and we'll add the Taft Fergusons and Larry Langford and Marilyn Kelsey.
Sorry, they gave me a half-mile long email address.
I know. Thank you.
Town Administrator's report.
Okay, so I was gonna work my way from the outskirts of town and into the village. We've already covered Avery, and I don't know if it's a good thing or not, but that most of my town administrators' reports have to do with damaged roads and repairing roads, but Charlemont Road, the MassWorks grant that we have to do another chunk of full-depth reconstruction and drainage, that will begin in earnest tomorrow. We've notified the bus company, the post office, and residents up there that the construction is going to begin. The contractor is committed to keeping one lane open at all times, but still it will slow traffic down considerably, and that people should be aware. And if there's, I would like to say, an alternative route, but we're running out of those. That project, I think we've already scheduled binder coat for that, putting Binder coat is scheduled for September 19th. So that goes to show you that that project will be fast-tracked. Coming down the hill to north, you notice that Balthazar is back on site and has begun their excavation. Anthony has worked out an arrangement that will be keeping the millings from that project for future projects that we're going to be doing. The truck route for that is going to be from north across Sears and working their way down to the 50 Conway, through the detour, around the trees, up to grandmother's house. But as a result, we are asking the residents on Green Street that park their cars on the side of the road with the odd house numbers to not park on the street tomorrow, to try to either park on the even side or find alternative parking so that the trucks can get through. It's a narrow road and with vehicles parked on both sides. We've posted that on the website. We've put out cones and barriers, and we've alerted a couple of residents that we know to help get the word out. We apologize for the short notice and the inconvenience, but once again, it's one of those opportunities that we really don't want to let go of.
Where are they going to be storing that? Conway Road?
50 Conway. So that should be limited till tomorrow, but we'll keep the residents in the loop on that. So North Street is moving right along. Coming back into town, they have taken a break, it appears, on Conway on the sidewalk project, but hopefully they'll be back. It's the same contractor that's working on North Street, so I think perhaps the crew has moved up the hill a little bit. We've impressed upon them that because there's an actual road closure on Conway, that we'd like them to keep up the schedule on that as well. We talked about the salt shed. I think that is all I have for road reconstruction. Oh, Elm and Pine. We had a pre-bid conference today. 4 contractors showed up. 4 contractors asked probably about 20 questions about the specs. As you know, this is not a project that we have engineered. They asked really good questions. So we'll be issuing an addendum trying to address and zero in on the utilities, the sewer and water that run underneath Pine and Elm, as well as more details on the head wall specifications and the pipe specifications. Also, they're interested in a more accurate count of trees over 6 inches that would have to be removed. So I'm going to ask Jeff, our tree warden, to go out and take a look at some of those trees and mark them. My hope is that when we issue the addendum, we'll have to push the deadline to probably September 9th for a bid opening, and then I'd like to have a neighborhood meeting on that. Either the 10th is your meeting, so maybe we could do it the night of the 9th or the 9th of the 11th, either that Monday or Wednesday, to get everybody down there to talk about what they can expect. Depot Street. Line painting on Depot and in the freight yard was scheduled for today. Unfortunately, they had to push that till next Tuesday. So next Tuesday, we'll ask that visitors and residents do not park on Depot or in the freight yard parking lot. The Salmon Falls Marketplace is closed that day. The Blue Rock is closed that day, so hopefully we don't impact businesses too much. And then we are putting North Street, the drainage issue at 52 North Street, that's going out to bid tomorrow. And we'll expect bids back on the 12th for that project. So I've never had this much road work going out for bid in late August, ever. Ever.
It'll be different sometimes.
Well, we're certainly pushing the, they're all emergency projects, and there isn't anything that could really wait till spring, so, yeah. When the contractors asked today what our timeline was, and I said this year, I got some eyebrows, but I said I have total confidence that somebody here in this group can get this work done.
Good.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your report.
All right. That's it?
I think so, unless anybody has anything that they have questions about.
No.
Yeah, it's pretty concise.
Yeah. Yep. Public comment?
Oh, hello.
Ms. Kelsey.
Thank you. Okay, I'm here for a reason. I was trying to watch you on TV earlier tonight, and the Channel 9 Comcast Live for Buckland was continually interrupted and switched the screen over to Democracy Now! So this has been an ongoing problem when I've tried to stay home and view you as a live group of professionals trying to speak to the citizens. That whatever the Comcast 9 station is, they can click out and go to Democracy Now! Or Energy this or Energy that. So I guess my question is, since there has to be a contract, I'm guessing, logically, that there's a contract between Buckland and Shelburne to Comcast for this Channel 9. I'd like to have a copy of that contract. If I see that they have a right to interrupt the live meeting that I want to stay home and watch, I would certainly agree with the contract. On the other hand, if they're doing it just to accommodate a certain political group, thinking their group is more important, Democracy Now!, than me sitting at home and not coming down here and watching my own select board meeting, and that's a whole other issue. So with that said, I'd like to see the contract, and in the future, because I know in the past, no, in the future, when Comcast has renegotiated a contract, I think there has been an open invitation to attend. I will be on the lookout for that in the future, because I think the public really takes this for granted, that the select board will work correctly with Comcast or Channel 9 and stream into my home. And at some point today, I was told that I could Zoom. For a good example, I don't Zoom. There have been issues during the pandemic where pornography has been interrupted in Zoom. But just last week, my sister was telling me she was in Chalmette. They were Zooming in Chalmette, and that was a horrible incident and shocking. So I don't trust Zoom. I don't want to be on Zoom. So I want to hear and feel what everybody's talking about live. And if that can't happen, let me know, and then I'll come down here. I hate to come down here in the middle of the winter. I just walked down here tonight, and I'm really exhausted. But on the other hand, if I have to drive down here in the winter, I will do it, because I love my community. I was born here in 1945, up on North Street. So I have a lot of reason to love my community and want to be informed. Not that I'm particularly involved, but I do want to be informed.
Dana? Dana, anything respond? Yeah.
I hear you, and certainly we've had a lot of problems. Democracy Now!, I know we have to pay for Greenfield as a favor of mine. I can't get it out of Greenfield. Half the time it's Greenfield has got much more money. It's a much bigger operation than we are in Buckland here, Buckland Shelburne. And I don't know if you watch them, but there's a few shows that I watch, and almost invariably there's the audio cuts out and the video cuts out. Every time it rains, I don't know what's happening. I know we have renegotiated. It was every 10 years we have to renegotiate the whole contract with Comcast. Okay, that was done approximately a year ago. Okay, the conditions haven't changed much. Neither has the support of Comcast to this type of cable TV. I think it's dying slowly, okay, because of streaming and all this other stuff. But I hear what you're saying. Tonight, watching Channel 7, that's what we're coming in on now. It used to be 9 to 7 now, okay? That you'll find on your Comcast Xfinity thing. I have the same thing, okay? It comes in on 7, and 9 is Greenfield, I believe, channel-wise, that way. But for us tonight, here in Buckland, Shelburne, what wasn't happening? All the equipment here is running correctly. So were you seeing, was the audio and the video going off and on? What was happening?
Correctly.
Okay.
And I was only watching 9 because that's what I've been watching in the past. I didn't know it had been changed to Channel 7. So I, as the public, hadn't been informed of the change.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So secondly, it was cutting out. So when the earlier group was here, I wanted to listen to what Roma had to say. It was being cut out, so I missed a lot of that. And it's just really this, why do I waste my time staying home thinking I would get the full scope of an hour and a half, or 2 hours, when it's easier to just come down here and...
Well, I understand.
I guess I have, how long does it usually take until the YouTube clip is up for it?
The YouTube clip?
Yeah.
Okay, that's, all right, well, this, I'm assuming this is, I've got, these are memory sticks tonight.
Yep.
These are being recorded, okay?
Right.
Otis will come in, take those, put it into the system. I don't know, you gotta transcribe the stuff or something, I don't know the technical stuff. Then it can go on to our website. Okay, and go from there. And that's a matter of, usually within a week, okay, we can get it on there.
Okay.
We've got me, I'm just,
Right.
all I do is this, I go to meetings.
You're the recorder. Yeah.
And, you know.
I'm just trying to think, so, you know, even.
I will call up, you know, Otis, the station manager tonight, okay, have a talk with him, and say, hey, you know, this is, because it's not the first time. I know, there's a lot of problems within the system. Comcast is aware of that. Okay, Greenfield, I know, is having a lot of problems also, because it's, you know.
So I guess.
Thank you, but I want to validate your time and your efforts and everything. It is not, it's not a personal issue.
Oh, of course not. No,
Management is not doing what they're supposed to do or not delivering what they have promised.
That is correct. Yeah.
Right.
End of story.
So at least at the end of the day, I would maybe for our next meeting, try Channel 7. And if you do happen to miss it, usually within the week, it will be up on their website for you to be able to go on.
Yeah, www Falls, it will be there, and you can go back. I've checked that out, yes. There's a time lag to get them there, okay? Because we got a station manager's part-time, we got another part-time guy who's, you know, trying to do stuff with the schools, and, you know, but it'll get there. You can go backwards, that I know, because I've checked it out. For the last, I don't know, 10 years, they're on the website. You can see every single one of these meetings.
I don't do web.
Oh.
I don't do digital.
Oh, okay.
I do
All right.
TV.
Okay, well.
I'm trying to be helpful, but that's
I understand,
that's
okay. Well,
lane.
all I'm saying is, it's all there on the web. You'll see a week
But what
later.
I'm saying is, don't advertise it live to citizens tonight on Cable 9 or Cable 7 if you can't deliver. That's all I'm asking.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for your service, as we say.
All right, announcements and upcoming meetings. September 10th, we have the Select Board meeting, probably at 5:30. September 11th is Planning Board in regards to Old Upper Street Road discontinuance for their public hearing. September 25th is the Buckland Trails and National Park Service Rivers Trails and Conservation Assistance Program. That'll be a kickoff meeting at 12 p.m. in the common room at the Mill at Shelburne Falls regarding the creation of walking and hiking trails within the town of Buckland. And that is it all I have?
I just wanted to let everybody know that our community wood bank program, DCR has delivered to date 12 cords of wood to local residents, and we are still accepting names, and requests from residents that use wood to heat their homes. And if you would like a delivery of wood, reach out to me or stop by the office. I'd be happy to get your name on the list. The DCR crew has been cutting and splitting 3 days a week and delivering on the 4th. So they've been very busy and very active out there, and we're really appreciative. I think the residents that have received the wood so far have been pretty excited. I mean, it's not seasoned because it's this year's wood, but it's still it's nice to have.
Yeah.
There's a limit though, right?
Well, everybody's eligible for a cord, and then we'll see where we're at after everybody that has reached out has received a delivery. If we can give people more, we're happy to do that. So we've got quite a store of it.
Well, I must say, whoever's idea it was to come up with a wood bank in town, kudos.
Well, people that have reached out seem to be pretty appreciative for the opportunity. So I'm glad that it's working out.
Yes.
So, and we really couldn't pull it off without DCR. So they've been fantastic to work with.
Yeah. All right. So is that all we have?
That's all. That's all.
Okay. I will make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Thank you, and
Sorry
have a
to
good evening.
distract you with my phone.